They called him the Law of Dodge City, a towering enforcer who could silence danger with just a stare. But off-screen, James Arness came dangerously close to walking away from Gunsmoke entirely. For 20 seasons, the series reshaped the very idea of a TV Western, but beyond the swing of those saloon doors, tensions brewed. Rivalries, health struggles, and behind-the-scenes politics threatened to pull the plug on the show more than once. One co-star even claimed Arness arrived so late, so often, that fists almost flew. How did a man who played such a calm, unflappable marshal manage to provoke that kind of anger? And how did a last-minute casting change prevent the most iconic cowboy in Hollywood from donning the badge? In the next few minutes, we're peeling back the polished frontier image. You'll find out how a fiery confrontation in a dusty makeup trailer transformed the entire cast dynamic, how a potentially show-ending memo from CBS was overturned thanks to an unlikely comedic twist, and how a single line of dialogue leapt from the script to everyday American slang. We're tracing Gunsmoke's evolution, from the static hiss of its 1952 radio roots to the moment its cast learned, via gossip column no less, that their record-setting run had ended. If you thought Dodge City was only dangerous on screen, wait till you see what went down once the camera stopped. Saddle up, because before tempers flared, an entirely different Hollywood legend almost walked into Matt Dillon's boots. Gunsmoke started out as just a voice crackling through American homes in 1952, a tough 30-minute radio drama that let listeners picture the dust and grit of Dodge City. 3 years later, it made the jump to TV, but the producers didn't just copy what came before. They took a chance, squeezed those raw, sharp stories into a half-hour black-and-white format for television and hoped viewers stuck around. They did by the millions. But the creators kept pushing. By 1961, the episodes doubled in length. By 1966, the show exploded into color, a rare step for a Western at the time. Now, viewers could see the scarlet sunsets and cold gunmetal that had only been imagined before. It proved Gunsmoke wouldn't grow old, it would evolve. Oddly enough, the most famous cowboy in film history nearly wore that badge first. Columbia offered the role of Matt Dillon to John Wayne. The Duke loved the script but couldn't squeeze the show into his film schedule. Instead, he did the next best thing, he filmed a TV intro endorsing his friend James Arness, like royalty passing the crown. Big business rode into town too. For the first 7 seasons, L&M Cigarettes bankrolled the show and slipped slick tobacco ads into commercial breaks, making Marshal Dillon part lawman, part spokesman for just what the doctor ordered. Between changes in format, a heavyweight endorsement and advertiser support, the show became a juggernaut that outran trend after trend. But the gleam of better cameras couldn't hide the trouble brewing backstage, especially between the show's stern doctor and its relaxed marshal. Even as the show glowed in Technicolor, a real-life showdown was brewing, and it wouldn't be acted. Milburn Stone spent 3 years holding his tongue while James Arness showed up late, joked with the crew and never once said, sorry. Stone, a stage-trained actor with a strict work ethic, saw every delay as damage to the show's integrity. Finally, one hot afternoon he'd had enough. Bursting into Arness's dressing room, the man known as Doc Adams to millions let loose a tongue-lashing strong enough to stop a cattle stampede. I've read my contract, he snapped, and nowhere does it say I have to diaper you. Show up late again and you'll have 2 problems, explaining where you were, and where I went. The crew braced for a fight. Arness stood 6'7", a battle-scarred former Marine. But Stone held his ground. What happened next stunned everyone. Arness locked eyes with him, nodded and simply said, "You're absolutely right." No sarcasm. No argument. Just a moment of surprising humility that defused the entire standoff. The tension vanished like steam from a busted canteen, and from that moment forward, a cautious respect took hold. That single blow-up changed the cast's chemistry for good. Stone's demand for timeliness kept the schedule sharp, while Arness's easygoing nature helped morale stay high. That real-world friction, and the mutual respect that followed, bled into their performances. The cranky doctor and the calm marshal felt authentic because the actors had earned that dynamic. Audiences could feel the spark even if they didn't know why it was there. But that hard-won balance would face challenges that no argument could fix. As the years went by, both men learned that frontier grit couldn't protect them from failing health. One with a damaged heart, the other with unrelenting arthritis, both held together by pure willpower. By season 11, viewers still saw Dillon swing into the saddle with smooth ease. But behind the scenes, arthritis chewed at James Arness like a dog on a bone. Producers improvised a solution. Film all his scenes in one brutal day, then give him a full week to recover. Arness pushed through 12-hour Fridays, iced his wartime injured leg and came back the next week like nothing hurt. The audience never saw the pain. Doc Adams didn't escape untouched either. In 1971, Milburn Stone suffered a heart attack that pulled him off the show for 6 episodes, the only time the doctor ever truly left Dodge. Surgery got him back on his feet, and Stone returned thinner but determined, swearing he'd never let his health take him out again. His comeback felt almost mythic, viewers even tuned in more, and CBS got flooded with letters of concern. Then in 1973 came a real loss. Glenn Strange, who played bartender Sam and once wore Frankenstein's bolts, died after nearly 10 years with the show. The Long Branch Saloon lost its quiet giant, and the cast's spirits sank. Still, the cameras rolled. That's the harsh truth of television. Grief gets one read-through before the red light flashes again. For most shows, all that would have been enough to bring the curtain down. Gunsmoke pushed through with pure stubbornness. Schedules rewritten, scenes shot around wheelchairs, scripts reworked, but the show lived on. By then it wasn't just a Western. It was a testament to the cast's endurance. But no amount of grit could shield Gunsmoke from the bullets of network politics. In 1967, a goofy tropical sitcom would suddenly decide whether Dodge City stayed on the air or got put out to pasture. May 1967, deep inside CBS headquarters in Manhattan, executives drew a cancellation line through Gunsmoke's name on the fall schedule, and penciled in a new slot for a zany island comedy called Gilligan's Island. When the decision leaked, Western fans exploded. Lawmakers' offices were flooded with calls, editorial writers torched CBS for abandoning its roots, and even golf buddies of the network chairman pleaded with him to change his mind. Under pressure from all sides, CBS reversed course in record time, canceling Gilligan's Island instead and sliding Gunsmoke back into its Saturday night spot. Dodge City had been saved by a castaway sitcom, proving that audience loyalty could still overpower executive plans. But the rescue came with invisible strings. Westerns were losing advertiser money. Critics argued the show's opening gunfight encouraged violence. And variety shows, cheaper and more flexible, were pulling in better ratings. 8 seasons later, in 1975, the axe finally came down, with no ceremony at all. The cast found out from a column in Variety over breakfast. No send-off, no last ride script, just another episode that faded to black with no one realizing it was goodbye. Still, the numbers wouldn't quit. 20 seasons. 635 episodes. A run so massive that even The Simpsons took nearly 3 decades to break it. And that catchphrase, "Get the H out of Dodge," originally hurled at villains, stuck in the culture as shorthand for making a fast escape. In pop culture's long memory, Dodge City still echoes with bootsteps and one-liners. But what's a record worth if the people behind it never got to tip their hats goodbye? Before we ride off, let's look at the real legacy of television's longest-running Western, and why the drama behind the scenes mattered just as much as the gunfights we saw on screen. Because the truth is, Gunsmoke wasn't about shootouts, rustlers, or even Dodge City. It was about a group of people who traded comfort for commitment, who fought through injuries, disagreements, exhaustion, and still showed up every time the red light came on. James Arness jammed a week's worth of effort into one excruciating shoot day so no one saw him limp. Milburn Stone transformed a furious outburst into a foundation of mutual respect. Glenn Strange poured one last drink before fate yelled cut. Even a stranded sitcom helped bring the show back from the edge, proving that loyal fans could shout louder than any boardroom. And yet, the silent cancellation reminds us, on TV, like in the Wild West, goodbyes aren't always clean. One day the posse just scatters, the bar doors stop swinging, and the dust settles without warning. But Gunsmoke still left its mark. 635 episodes, a phrase that teens would echo for generations, and a blueprint showing future shows that the key to survival isn't just ratings, it's the ability to adapt. So next time someone says, "Get the H out of Dodge," remember the arthritis hidden under the marshal's badge, the heart that almost stopped beating behind Doc's coat, the comedy that saved the West, and the headline that ended it all. Because behind every iconic image is a messier, more human story of grit and perseverance. If you spent your Saturdays watching those showdowns, or discovered them years later after the dust had settled, tell us, what's your favorite Gunsmoke moment, on screen or off? Share it in the comments, hit subscribe for more untold stories from TV's golden age, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next legend we dig up. Until then, ride steady, and listen for the echoes in Dodge.